Thank you, Danny. And it is great to be here. All right, thanks. Thank you. So, no, yeah, sure. Okay, thanks.
I'm a roadie as well.
Refugee Shabbat Shalom, everybody. It's great. It's an honor to be here to spend Refugee Shabbat with you. And really, this congregation does represent the change that we want to see in the world. The program, HIAS is in the United States, we're one of 10 national refugee resettlement agencies. 7 of us are faith-based. HIAS is the only Jewish one. And what we realized is after something happened in this country between 2017 and 2020, the refugee resettlement system in this country, the country's ability to welcome refugees was absolutely eviscerated. We had to close down about 30% of our sites, and the surviving sites around the country were staffed with a skeletal crew. This was true not just for HIAS, but for all 10 refugee resettlement agencies. And as a result, when the Afghan crisis happened and 85,000 Afghans were evacuated overnight into military bases around the country, the United States did not have the capacity to take them in. So we had to be creative. We had to find ways outside of our normal way of doing things. HIAS is very proud of our national network of Jewish family service agencies around the country which welcome refugees, which do our work on the ground in partnership with us and the U.S. government. And in this area, there are 2 right now. There's the JFCS of East Bay and the JFS of Silicon Valley. But we simply did not have the capacity to welcome in 85,000 Afghans, given the state of the resettlement system in 2021. So we had to be creative. And we launched, we being us and the United States government, the concept of welcome circles to help augment that capacity. And we loved it because HIAS was limited to resettling refugees in those places where we had JFS partners. We couldn't resettle refugees, we couldn't welcome refugees to the city of San Francisco because the U.S. government forced us to shut down our resettlement program at the JFCS of San Francisco because they said San Francisco is just too expensive to resettle refugees in. And so enter the welcome circles, enter the really important work that you all have done with Kolya and his family, which is first with the Afghans, and then with Ukrainian refugees, and now with refugees from all over the world. We're no longer limited to resettling refugees in those places where we have a JFS partner. We can resettle refugees, we can welcome refugees in any community where we have a group of people or a synagogue that want to demonstrate that they are welcoming to people who are fleeing persecution, because we already know the heart of the stranger, because we were once strangers ourselves. So HIAS is primarily a refugee resettlement agency in the United States, but it's important to keep in mind that resettlement, meaning the ability to go from a place of danger and be brought safely and legally to a new country, is available to only 1% of the more than 110 million people who are displaced every year. Most people who are displaced don't have a place to go. They're stuck in the first place to which they can flee. So HIAS around the world helps people in those places be safe where they are and be in a position to support themselves. But here in the United States, we're really proud of our work, our partnership with our Jewish Family Service Network and with congregations and welcome circles like Temple Emanu-El. I also want to say that tonight's Parsha, Pekudei, is really an important one for HIAS and for our tradition of welcoming refugees. Now, the commandment to welcome the stranger is, as Rabbi Singer said, repeated more often than any other commandment in the Torah, 36 times. It's actually not in tonight's Torah portion, but tonight's Torah portion is the last portion in the book of Exodus, which is the story of the flight of the Jewish people from slavery into freedom. That's a story that the Jewish people have lived over and over and over again. And what is interesting about Pekudei is it's about the tabernacle, and it's very specific in terms of how the tabernacle is to be constructed. Instructions by God given to Moses. And when we think of a tabernacle, we might think of the Mormon tabernacle in Salt Lake City, but that's not at all what the original tabernacle was. It was a movable synagogue, basically, that moved with the Hebrew people as they moved from the base of Mount Sinai into the Promised Land, into Canaan. And this is something that we really value at HIAS, which is, yes, we are a faith-based organization. We are motivated by our faith. We are motivated, as Danny said, to welcome refugees not because they are Jewish, but because we are Jewish. But more important than being faith-based is being faith-sensitive, is recognizing the importance of the faith of any refugee in surviving their flight, in surviving their move to a strange land, and in rebuilding a new community in that strange land. What kept the Jewish people together through our mass displacements that happened over and over and over again in the Torah and throughout history and through the 20th century was our connection to our faith tradition. It was the fact that we had this portable religion, this portable culture, this portable set of values that moved with us from place to place and helped us not only to survive, but to thrive as a people. Faith is no less important to other refugees who are fleeing today. And at HIAS, we like to emphasize as a faith-sensitive organization that for people to recover, they need to have that tabernacle that goes with them from their country of origin to exile and the country of first asylum to their new country so they can set down roots, reestablish their culture, reconnect to their values, and thrive in their new land. And I want to thank you so much for being a partner with HIAS in this important work. Thank you.